Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aeronautical Information Optimization Summit. I'm Abby Smith, and I'm the Director of Air Traffic Organization's Technical Training. And my other job is the Executive Champion for Notices to Airmen, or as we call it, NOTAM, modernization effort for the FAA. I'm delighted that you chose to spend some time with us today to be a part of this. In fact, this is our third of 6 sessions around aeronautical information optimization, and so many of you have participated. We actually decided today that we would base our questions mostly around questions that have already been asked of audience members who hadn't had a chance to get their questions answered. And so today's topic is about modernizing our aeronautical information. Specifically, we're going to talk about the great stuff that we've done to get NOTAM data modernized, and also how we're delivering aeronautical information through the Aeronautical Common Services, or ACS, because we love our acronyms. Now I'd like to ask our MC for the day, Jill Olson, to join me. Jill is the group manager for the Aeronautical Information Group. Jill, hi. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, please?
Hi, Abby. It's so great to see you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here today. So hello, everyone. As you said, my name is Jill Olson, and I've been with the FAA for 13 years. And my day-to-day jobs involves data, and more data. And my group is heavily involved with all of the aeronautical information and NOTAM modernization effort. Now that you know a little bit about me, I'd like to welcome all of you who joined us in our Zoom webinar, and welcome also to those who joined us via live stream on social media.
We've got a packed agenda today, but we promise to get as many of your questions answered as we can.
We certainly do, Abby. But for those of you on Zoom, please use the Q&A feature to post your questions or general feedback. And if you're on live stream, use the link provided on social media.
So I'm really hoping we'll be hearing from all of you throughout this session using these tools. I'd also like to mention that as we're all becoming more accustomed to virtual meetings in the current environment, please be patient with the technology. I know I have 2 little 4-legged coworkers running around, and sometimes they're loud, and sometimes people's delivery method gets a little messy. So if you have any bandwidth issues, I really suggest you try disconnecting from your virtual private network, or VPN, if it's on, and then reconnect. You'll find that you'll get a feed much better. You may even want to try closing other applications if you're on a computer.
That's great advice, Abby. And I can say too, I have a little 4-legged creature who I have locked out, so hopefully they won't come and visit. But let's not forget to talk about our use of acronyms. We do love those in the FAA. And for those of you who have registered, you may want to pull out that acronym reference guide included in your email today with the Zoom link for this session. And for our last note, we are recording this session so that you can view it from our social media, FAA social media platforms in the future. With that, Abby, what do you say we talk to everyone about what they have to look forward to over the next few weeks?
That's a great idea. So before I even we're going to cue the slide here, but what I'd like to mention before talking specifically is the agenda of this series is built on the feedback that we received from many of you who joined us for our in-person Data Optimization Summit in November. So next week on Thursday, August 20, we'll be looking at temporary flight restrictions, or TFRs as we call them. That data, to standardize it, to look at the geospatial data sets around it, the flexibility to manipulate that data, and the authoritative data sources around TFRs. On August 7, 2 weeks from today, we have a special event that I'm really excited about that's going to focus on our drone community with a session on unmanned aircraft systems and aeronautical information germane to them. And last, and really excited about, is our September 3rd session. in which we're going to be wrapping up this series and talking about the future of aeronautical information and NOTAMs. And what one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we got from our November summit, application programming interfaces, or APIs. So really good stuff, and I hope that you will make it.
That is great. So it looks like we have a lot of fun coming up in the next few weeks. But what do you say we talk about what we're going to talk about today? So in order to do that, let's bring our experts in. That's Jerry Gross and Jeffrey Hobbs. You guys mind joining us?
Jeff and Jerry are joining us from the Program Management Organization's Aviation, Weather, and Aeronautical Services team. Hey, Jerry, why don't you kick it off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, Abby, I will be happy to do that. Thank you to Abby and Jill for hosting and emceeing this event today. As noted, I am Jerry Gross, and I work in the FAA's PMO organization. We manage programs. I have the fortunate pleasure of being the group manager for aviation, weather, and aeronautical programs. So many of the activities and work that we will be discussing today in previous summits and future summits are all a part of my group. So I'm very happy to be here to share with you the status of all the work and activities we have going on. Thank you.
Great, Jerry. We're happy to have you here too. And I must say, I truly love the color of your outfit today. I think we were on the same mindset.
Pink
but
is
how
the
about
color.
We're in the pink.
We're in the pink today. So how about you, Jeff? Do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Jill. I'm happy to be here. Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Hobbs, and I've been with the FAA for the last 19 years. Since the end of May of this year, I have been the Aeronautical Information Services Team Manager. I am responsible for the 13 aeronautical services programs that range from obstacles, notice to airmen, federal NOTAM system modernization, airspace, and integrated aeronautical information.
Great, Jeff. So glad you're here as well. So now that you've all met our experts, let's dive right in. So just a reminder to our audience, please send us your questions that you might have throughout our discussion. In the meantime, let's start with a few questions like Abby mentioned that have come up during the previous ones. So what do you say, Abby? Can we cover those first?
Perfect. Okay, here's the first one. So Jerry, in session 1, we talked about meeting the goal of having a single human interface. For those of you who don't know, would you mind, Jerry, level setting with the audience what that actually means?
Yes, Abby, I would be happy to do that. So per the FAA's Reauthorization Act of 2018, it was very clear about the FAA providing a single authoritative source for NOTAM data. As many of you know who are aviation data users out there, we have multiple public websites available, and this can often be very confusing when you're looking for NOTAM data. So after evaluating our multiple offers, we decided to select the NOTAM search as our single authoritative source going forward. What this means is some of our legacy offerings of website and human access will be decommissioned, and the one that we have decommissioned thus far is Pilot Web. So earlier this year in February, we redirected many of our Pilot Web users to this NOTAM search capability, and we'll talk a little bit later about what you really get when you access NOTAM search. Does that help, Abby?
It does. So as we give the audience a little chance to begin to post their questions, I want to dig in a little bit more around that NOTAM search. Jerry, tell us what drove you to choose NOTAM search.
So that's a very good question. And so the really point is NOTAM search was built in the 2013 timeframe. It was built on the basis of the Pilot Bill of Rights from 2012. So in this Bill of Rights, it addressed some very specific functionality and capability that we should offer our pilot and aviation community. So again, when we looked at our offerings around what public access was there, we saw that NOTAM search had many of these features and capabilities. It also has construction notices and letters to airmen. And very importantly, NOTAM search is a part of our platform that we're going forward with, our federal NOTAM system. So when we took a look at our options, it seemed that NOTAM search was absolutely the best option to have as our single authoritative source.
Well, Jerry, I can say that as a person who deals with data on a regular basis, I'm extremely excited about the single NOTAMs platform. So we have a question from the audience. Audience, if you don't mind me asking, Jerry.
Okay.
Why are NOTAMs in all caps?
Wow, that's a very good question. So let's see if we can get a graphic queued up for our users to see what a typical NOTAM looks like today. What you see here is a text NOTAM. But really, to explain this, we really need to take a look at history. NOTAMs was started in the era of teletypes, and NOTAMs have been transmitted over the years via the Aeronautical Fixed Telecommunications Network, or AFTN. So some of the limitations of AFTN was this specific uppercase format. Also, this free text environment, this analog information is pretty good when you look at it on a screen. But when you really start moving to sharing data digitally and across systems, this uppercase format really did not work. So in general, uppercase formats are going away, and we will be providing NOTAMs in a more digital format. And you'll see in some of our other discussion what that looks like.
That's great. And you know, that's where digital data and digital NOTAMs is going to come in so handy, Jerry.
Yes, that's very true. So what you should see here is a graphic that really will illustrate what we're talking about around digital data. What we see in the bottom left corner there is a NOTAM in an XML format. That's a digital format. But what you can do when you have data in that digital format is translate that into a picture, as you see here. So the information that's provided in the XML format is the same information that's provided in the picture. It tells you what runway was closed, and it gives you a picture of the status of the runway at the airport. So this is one of the key benefits of digital data, is to be able to transform and translate that data into other formats.
I mean, it's really cool. And in fact, when you're looking at this, you can graphically represent impact of them using a diagram in the picture, and for instance, with a temporary flight restriction or a closed runway.
That's exactly right. With a digital NOTAM, a hazard or event in the airspace can be captured and represented via a data model. And what that data model does is standardize how we can collect, how we translate, and how we translate that into multiple formats and distribute it out to our users. So what you see here in this video is a graphical depiction of what a NOTAM can look like transformed in a digital format.
That is great, Jerry. So can we talk about what this integration does for our stakeholders in the aviation community?
Yes. So what you really get with delivering data in a digital format is you get the ability to query that data, to filter that data, and to transform that data and provide it out to our users in a format that they can manipulate and they can analyze. So what you see here on this screen is 3 views of the same NOTAM information. View A provides your standard all caps format. That's how we see NOTAMs today. View B is the plain language format. As you can see, all the caps have been removed. And view C is really where many of our users want to go, is to be able to take that digital data and show it graphically on their screen or to their users in some application or in some type of tool. So really querying, filtering, and transforming digital data is really where we're going when we move from this analog format to a digital format.
Wow, that is a huge improvement. And I know that you and Jeff have been really busy with your team working this. I know, as excited as I am, I can't imagine how excited people will be to subscribe to these kind of single data sources for aeronautical information. So I'd like to bring Jeff into the conversation now to answer a question from the audience. The question from the audience, let me read it here. Will you share with us what changes have been made to NOTAM search?
Absolutely. Control room, can you please help me by
Thanks,
launching?
Jeff.
Control room, can you please help me by launching the NOTAM search slide? As they do that, I have to say that the new NOTAM search website is much more user-friendly than what we've had in the past.
So Jeff, I
So it
think we
looks
got
like
the
the
slide
control
up.
room
Yeah.
is,
Yes, I guess that was, yes. All right, I can see it now. Thank you. So the NOTAM search is built as part of the federal NOTAM system, or FNS. As Jerry said back in February of this year, we consolidated multiple websites that contain NOTAM, such as Pilot Web, and directed users toward a single web location. The new NOTAM search allows users to sort and filter the results. It also has the ability for a user to view NOTAMs that are effective during a specified time period, as depicted in this slide. On our next slide, you'll be able to see that a user can submit a query on a route of flight to see the NOTAMs that are applicable to that particular flight path. Also, new with NOTAM search, users can create profiles for themselves. These profiles allow them to save their search preferences, filter and sort settings, designate preferred airports, and so much more.
That is great, Jeff. And thank you for having these slides, because I think having the visual for our audiences is really great thing. So that's just the tip of the icebergs that I'm sure you plan on continue modernizing in the future. So can you just remind us what the NOTAM search website is, please?
Absolutely. The NOTAM search can be accessed at https://notams.faa.aim.faa.gov/NOTAM search. We'll post that URL in the chat also. While we're talking about NOTAM search, I'd like to mention something else that's very exciting. Not only did we build NOTAM search for today, but we built it knowing that we will transition to a fully digital NOTAM system in the future that Jerry described earlier. An example of this, think of a temporary flight restriction NOTAM, or a TFR, and being able to view that restriction as a graphical depiction of the geographic area.
so, wow, that's so cool. And it's so in keeping with what the community asked for. So while we're on this, Jerry, how about a question from the audience? Will there be a single machine interface for NOTAM data?
Well, that's a great question, Abby, and the answer is yes. We talked a little bit so far about our single human interface. So as we move forward, we took a look at the multiple data connections that are available there for users to access NOTAM, and we settled on one single source, which is the NOTAM distribution service. The NOTAM distribution service is available via FAA's SWIM platform. For those of you who may not know, the SWIM is the FAA's infrastructure that provides a central connection for digital data sharing for various types of FAA aviation information, including NOTAMs. Think of SWIM as a road, the highway, the asphalt, the stoplights, the lanes, etc. And think of data as a cars. So data is traveling down the FAA SWIM's information highway. Using this infrastructure, the NOTAM distribution service provides NOTAMs in internationally accepted AXM format that we mentioned earlier.
Jerry, I have to say, I love that analogy. I think that is a great way for people to remember what SWIM is. And again, like we said earlier, we love our acronyms in the FAA. So thank you. So Jerry, another question for you. I'm wondering, how will the NOTAM distribution service improve accessibility to NOTAM data?
So that's a great question, Jill, because clearly we want everyone to be able to find and access this information and these information sources that we've worked so hard on. So the NOTAM distribution service, as I said, is available via FAA SWIM platform. Currently, the FAA SWIM platform has two options for users to access: the standard format of connecting to a dedicated VPN environment, or a new service that they're offering in a cloud format, which is SWIM's Cloud Distribution Service, or many of you have heard us refer to it as SCDS. SCDS is a publicly accessible infrastructure providing several types of FAA aviation data, including NOTAMs. So what we're doing over the next couple months is working with our users who are using our current system, ADAP, and transitioning those users over to SWIM. Each user will be transitioned to one of those SWIM offerings, either the dedicated VPN access or via the cloud. So let's take a quick look at a demo showing you how easy it is to access FAA's data via the SWIM cloud. Control room, cue me up. So here, we'll have a very quick video. We'll point you to the SWIM cloud distribution service and help you get started. Basically, you have to set up and register your account with your email, password, and the typical password controls. You have to verify your email, common practice on many of our access points today. Once your email has been verified, then you go to log into the SWIM cloud distribution system with those controls you set up, your email and your password. Then you can get started with selecting your subscriptions. So subscriptions is really the service that you want to get provided. You'll see listed there several options. We are choosing for our purpose today, the aeronautical information or FNS data. Once you select that subscription, you can select filters associated with it. What type of data do you really want to get? Or maybe you want to get all the data. So if so, you would select that. So once you've set up your subscription, set up your filters, now your account is successfully set up and you can subscribe to SWIM data via the cloud. This screen shows you what your subscription looks like, what services you're subscribed to, how many connections, and some statistics around your message rate and your data rate. It's that simple, how to access FAA data via SWIM cloud, in particular, the NOTAM data.
Wow, that really is simple, Jerry. And it's pretty straightforward how to sign up.
Yes.
So in our last session, there were questions about ICAO. So Jeff, can we talk a little bit about what is ICAO, what is that acronym, and what are we doing to comply with ICAO?
Absolutely. Thanks for that question. I have a visual that I'd like to ask the control room to launch on ICAO, please. While that's coming up, I'll start with the acronym. ICAO is the International Civil Aviation Organization. ICAO is recognized for the International NOTAM format. On this slide, you can see the top part of the NOTAM is the FAA policy format, a bunch of numbers and letters run together. With ICAO, there are defined sections. Each section has a specific meaning, and that same data is spread out through those sections. Did that answer the question, Abby?
So that's cool. So, yeah, that's great. So since ICAO compliance is a major issue around internationally and nationally with really simplifying the NOTAM system, can you tell us some other benefits with the ICAO standard?
Yes. Moving to the ICAO formatted NOTAMs makes it easier on our aviation community, including pilots, dispatchers, controllers, to work with NOTAMs in a single format wherever they happen to be in the world. Obviously, there's a huge benefit into having something so important universally standardized. The ICAO format provides additional metadata, the data about the data, as we saw in the slide earlier, making it easier for users to filter and sort NOTAMs, finding the relevant NOTAMs they want to and need.
You know, Jeff, that's really the point that we're all trying to achieve, right? To get the correct information in user's hand and as easily and accurately as possible. So that's a great thing. So Jerry, I'm just curious. I mean, we've talked about a whole bunch of great stuff, but there's got to be more stuff coming down the pipeline. What other improvements is the FAA planning for the NOTAM system?
Yes, Jill, I'm glad that you asked, because thus far we've talked about some of the improvements we're making around external access to the data, whether it's from a human perspective or a machine perspective. But what we also have to work on is our internal infrastructure, our platforms that we offer NOTAMs via. So we have some major enhancements underway on migrating our legacy NOTAM system, the US NOTAM system, into our newer system, the federal NOTAM system, or FNS. So at some point, we're going to reach the point where we have one NOTAM system. Once we've done that migration, we then are going to host that system on a more robust platform, a virtualized environment, a platform that is suitable for many of our FAA critical NAS systems. The really important thing here is this FNS system is built on a digital platform, and we're going to, as we make enhancements going forward, we are going to go to a fully digital airspace environment so that our airspace information can be leveraged with our NOTAM information and provide users the most current and accurate status of whatever aviation environment, airport that they're interested in.
Great. Thanks, Jerry, for sharing all those NOTAM system improvements. So, gang, I think this seems like a great point to pause and see if we got any audience questions and feedback. I have been looking at the Q&A, and I think I have a few questions that I'd like to pose to the panel. So my first question, Abby, is for you. So let me look over here. So it says,
Yikes.
As you know, pilots are overwhelmed with too many NOTAMs, and the most important ones get buried somewhere in the many pages we have to go through. What is the FAA doing to help in prioritizing NOTAMs?
Well, I mean, that's really the foundational part of the whole NOTAM modernization effort. To be able to get to that single platform for distribution is really key to getting us the tools and data we need to the public. So, for example, they'll be able to sort, filter, and perform flight path queries, amongst other things. Our eventual goal is to further expand the digital data and move it into that full ICAO format, because with that additional metadata, it can be used to further enhance search criteria and your ability to get relevant NOTAMs, because it's really about the safety in flight. Too much information interferes with pilot's ability to get that relevant NOTAM data that he or she may need for his or her flight.
Thanks, Abby. You answered that one very well. So, and you're right, we're all about safety here, of course.
Thanks.
So, Jeff, I think this next question is something you might be familiar with. It says, since alphanumeric airport codes are not ICAO supported, how is the FAA going to handle NOTAMs for those airports?
So ICAO Annex 15 has specific guidance on how to handle the non-ICAO designators. An airport details will be part of the E line, which you saw those sections in the previous example, when we move to the new ICAO NOTAM in the future.
That's great. So I think we got one more question here. This one is going to be for Jerry. Does the ACS, Aeronautical Common Service, there's another acronym, provide anything in the way of helping map AI, which we all know is aeronautical information?
Yes. One second. Yes, in addition to providing aeronautical information itself, which consumers can map as they see fit, the ACS provides a web map service and a web mapping tile service. These services provide mapping layers to digital aeronautical information imagery, such as airspace or airport. These mapping layers can be used by mapping applications to combine with the base layer maps.
Thank you, Jerry. And to our audience, please keep your feedback and questions coming. We certainly do appreciate them. So I'm going to continue to monitor, and I'll find the right time to ask them. But for now, Abby, I'm going to switch it over to you to ask questions we've had from previous sessions.
That's great, Jill. Thanks a lot. So I want to switch gears because we've talked a lot about NOTAM, and I want to talk about what's in store for the future. Jerry, let's dive into the Aeronautical Common Service, or, ACS, for a few moments. What else would the audience be interested in knowing about the Aeronautical Common Service?
Hey, Abby, I am glad that you asked. And as you said, ACS is really one of our offers as we go forward in the modernization and enhancement. The Aeronautical Common Service really is all about an integrated data set that we provide in a standard format. So when we talk about the integrated data set, what data we're talking about? We're talking about data from multiple data systems. Obstacle data, as you take a look at the graph here, you'll see obstacle data, airport nav aids data, special activity airspace definitions, special activity airspace schedules, as well as NOTAM data. So what ACS provides is all of the data from those different sources. It puts together into one service format that users can subscribe to, and that subscription and that data is pushed out to our users via the FAA SWIMS platform.
So there does seem to be a lot of interest in the Q&A related to this, to ACS. So this seems like the right moment to ask. So Jeff, can you tell us anything more about what the ACS provides?
Sure. So I think we have a slide for that. ACS provides aeronautical information that falls into two categories: static data, the data that doesn't change very often, and dynamic data, data that's changing constantly. The static is the baseline definitions of aeronautical information, such as airports, obstacles, and airspace. Dynamic data is notices and temporary changes to the baseline information. For instance, when a specific area of airspace is scheduled for use by the military for a set number of hours, or when there's a lighting outage on a runway.
So Jeff, building off that question, tell all of us a little bit more about where this information comes from.
Love to do that, Abby. ACS receives data from three static aeronautical information sources. First, NASR, the National Airspace System Resource, which provides airports, navigational aids, and other supporting aeronautical information. Second is ENASR, the Electronic National Airspace System Resource, which provides definitions of special activity airspace. This is the airspace where limitations may be imposed upon aircraft operations, such as military operations areas or restricted areas. Rounding out the three is OAS, Obstacle Authoritative Source, which provides data on obstacles in the NAS, or National Airspace System.
Thanks, Jeff. And I could say those three really resonate with me since my group deals with them on a daily basis. So question for you, can you describe the dynamic aeronautical information sources?
Sure. So those are our other two sources. We have two dynamic aeronautical information sources, the first being FNS, which we've talked about before, the federal NOTAM system, which provides our NOTAMs, and SAMS, the Special Use Airspace Management System, which provides schedules for special use airspace that can be scheduled day to day or week to week.
That's cool. So, you know, during the November summit, we heard a lot about data formats. I mean, we heard a lot about data formats. So, Jerry,
Yes.
if those are the sources and formats for the Aeronautical Common Service, can you tell the audience what format we're going to provide aeronautical information in?
Yes, I can. So the data that the data that is provided will be provided via the Aeronautical Information Exchange Model, or AXIM. The format of that, the current format of AXIM is 5.1. What this does is provide a specification for exchanging aeronautical information across the globe. This exchange model is the specification that was developed by both the FAA and Eurocontrol and built on the XML and Geography Markup Language, or GML. So we are providing in a standard format that not only allows it to be exchanged here in the continental US, but as well as across the globe in this standard format.
So, wow. So there's AXIM, there's GML, there's XML, there's AXIM 5.1. It is an alphabet soup. But big time, right?
Right.
And so, but if there's data geeks out there like me, it's like music to their ears for data lovers. So, Jeff, can you tell us about how we integrated aeronautical information?
Sure,
Please.
I've got 3 slides for that. So the first one, often aeronautical information from one authoritative source applies to aeronautical information from a different authoritative source. We see this in ACS ingestion of NOTAMs. For example, what you see here is a non-digital NOTAM closing runway 6 left at LAX. In this case, ACS would process the NOTAM and provide it to the consumers, but unfortunately would not integrate it with other baseline aeronautical information. But If this was a partially digital NOTAM, ACS would identify the aeronautical information features that this NOTAM applies to, in this case, LAX Airport and runway 6 left, and ACS would create links to the NOTAMs from LAX and runway 6 left. Last slide. Finally, if the NOTAM was a digital NOTAM, ACS would not only create links to the NOTAM from LAX and runway 6 left, but would also update the operational status of 6 left for the duration of the NOTAM.
So that's a great improvement. So Jerry, what does integrated aeronautical information look like to consumers?
So Abby, from an integrated information perspective, it's really all about providing the most accurate picture of the airport situation, the most up-to-date picture of what that airport and that runway looks like. So what we see here is a visual of a runway baseline. Through the integrated process of getting an ACS feed, you're able to see that an update is pushed when that runway length is extended or changed, if you will. Then a NOTAM is issued saying that runway is closed. So you see during a very specific time space when the NOTAM is closed and what dates that apply to. So this really is a graphical depiction of what we're talking about when we talk about integrated data from an ACS perspective. It no longer is just on a 28-day cycle. As updates are provided from those authoritative sources, our ACS and our NOTAM systems push those updates out to our users so they can have the most accurate picture of what their aviation environment looks like.
So Jerry, can you tell us how we get those aeronautical information updates?
To get those aeronautical updates, users have to subscribe to SWIM. I've talked about the Aeronautical Common Services. So a subscription to SWIM, as we saw previously, provides users quite a bit of things. But specifically today, we're talking about users who are interested in aeronautical data. They could subscribe to Airport, an obstacle subscriber, or they could be a NOTAM subscriber. So then what happens is an obstacle update is provided and pushed through the SWIM system, such as a cell tower definition. So that obstacle data is provided to SWIM from one of those authoritative sources. It's ingested by the ACS and is pushed out via SWIM to the airport obstacle subscriber. So as you can see, SWIM is on both sides of this operation. Next, we see that there's a NOTAM that has been issued regarding a runway closer. Again, that NOTAM from the authoritative system, in this case, FNS, is pushed to SWIM, it's ingested by the ACS service, and is pushed out to the subscribers. However, in this case, it not only goes to the subscriber for airport and obstacle information, but it goes to the subscriber who's a NOTAM subscriber as well. So depending on the type of information and the update that is coming through, ACS ingests it and pushes it out to subscribers based on, as we saw in the demo, how they set up their subscription. So this is really what we mean about delivering data, integrated data from multiple sources through one standard format.
Awesome, thank you.
So that's really cool, Jerry. So it makes me wonder, Jeff, can you explain how consumers query the Aeronautical Common Service, or ACS, for that aeronautical information?
Sure. ACS provides two machine-to-machine aeronautical information web services. The first is the ACS Web Feature Service. It allows consumers to query the aeronautical information with open-ended consumer-defined filters. For example, consumers could query aeronautical information on unique identifiers, airport by designators, or NOTAMs by location and time. Due to the open-ended nature of the web service feature, consumers should use the ACS Consumer Testbed at the Tech Center to develop and test different queries to ensure that they meet consumer needs and are processed efficiently. The second is the ACS Data Query Service. It provides a predefined query that are run with consumer-provided parameters. This provides more efficient queries for a specific set of cases rather than the more open-ended web feature service. An example of this is querying for airspace along a flight path.
Thanks, Jeff. So I'm taking another question from the audience here. And the question is, what is available to them now and what is to come? Can you help, Jerry?
Yes, Jill, I can take that question. So right now, our ACS service is not available in our live production format. However, it is available in the ACS consumer testbed. Users who are interested in accessing the ACS feed prior to us deploying it out in our live production database can subscribe to the testbed. In this testbed, which again is offered via FAA SWIM infrastructure, users can evaluate the data in the testbed. They get early access to the information. They can develop their queries. They can develop the interface between the SWIM system and their system, really giving them an opportunity to get ready for when this is deployed in a live production format. Also, very important is we are taking users' feedback. So as users are evaluating the data, evaluating the connection, understanding how the ACS works, we're happy to receive their feedback so that as we go live with this production earlier in the calendar year of 2021, we'll have information from our users on how well this is working. So for users to begin the onboarding process, they should contact acsconsumer@faa.gov. There, someone will receive their request and help walk them through subscribing and onboarding to the FAA SWIM and this consumer testbed.
That is really cool, but it's got me chomping at the bit, and it does for Jill too.
It does, and
so
I just wanted to share
we,
that we are going to make sure we get, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure we are going to get that added to the chat. So all of those who are attending will see that email address.
Yes, good.
No worries. No worries. So look, I'm chomping at the bit. I know I have bugged you and Jeff for months. So Jeff, when can consumers access the ACS web services, and what are we looking forward to down the road from the Aeronautical Common Services?
Take that, Abby. We aim to have the ACS in production by this time next year. More specifically, as Jerry said, July 2021. But exactly. But as was mentioned, this is only the first step. Further down the road, we plan on expanding the capabilities of ACS. This will include both improving subscription capabilities to allow consumers more flexibility on how they receive notifications and expanding the total scope of aeronautical information available from ACS. And you can see the roadmap there.
Great. Thank you. Well, first off, I want to say thank you to all of you. And I'm going to see, it looks like we might have a bit more time to answer some more audience questions. So let me look at the Q&A real quick and pull out a few questions for you. If you can just hold on for a second. So Abby, let me ask this question to you. Does the ACS provide TFRs?
Jill, the way that the ACS provides TFRs right now is in the form of our current NOTAM, which means it's not. However, I know that Jerry, Jeff teams are working really rigorously to get those geospatial data sets in. And we're also working on internal process improvement to make sure that we've got the consistency to do that automation. We heard the audience loud and clear on their needs, and we're working hard to get there.
Great. And just as a reminder, what are we talking about in next week's summit?
TFRs.
Oh, yes. So
right?
we're going to spend TFR. So tune in next week.
Right.
This hopefully is a little tickler to make sure
Right.
people come back and join us again. Yeah, thanks, Jill.
Great, thank you. So Jerry, a question for you. Will the ACS be accessible for international non-US airlines?
Yes, our ACS, as well as all of our other SWIM data, is available to users as long as they are SWIM consumers. Again, SWIM is our dedicated method that we are sharing data with our external aviation partners and aviation interested users. So a SWIM connection swim consumer is necessary.
Great. That's great news for them. Let me see if we have any more questions. Jeff, question for you. Is there any plan to move airports and nav aids to provided by the ACS to AXM format?
Yes. Nav aids in airports will be provided by ACS in the AXM format.
That's great news. Let me see if there's any more questions. I think that might be it for now. I do want to thank you all for providing your information and answering these questions. You did a great job. Oh, one more just popped in. Sorry. So Jerry, question for you. Are subscriptions to the services free, or is there a fee with the subscription for swim?
Currently, the FAA swim consumer service is a no-cost service to our subscribers. So
Well, that's great.
I didn't use the word free. I said no cost.
Right? Hey, it's all in the word. So thank you very much. So I don't see any more questions at this time. So I really do want to thank you, the three of you, for being part of this panel. And do you guys have any final thoughts to share with the audience before we say goodbye? Jerry, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Yes, thank you, Jill. As I started out, again, just a thank you to you and Abby for hosting this event, being our MC, and Abby as our executive champion. As you've heard today, we have a lot of work underway in the FAA around this whole idea of modernizing NOTAMs. So I really appreciate the opportunity to come here and share with you some of the work that we've done and a lot of the work that we still have going on. So continue to participate in these summits, stay engaged with our aeronautical information community, and we will continue to share and have the opportunity to dialogue. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jerry. And again, we are so grateful that you were with us today, and there is a lot of efforts going on. How about you, Jeff? Do you have anything that you would like to share?
Absolutely. First, I want to thank you and Abby for inviting me here today. I know it's a huge amount of work to get this together, not only for one, but for the whole series. So thank you very much. I also appreciate this opportunity to share information on aeronautical information and some of our progress, our plans as we strive to modernize capabilities to retrieve and use aeronautical information. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. And Abby, as our executive champion and the one who started us out on this session, do you have any final words you would like to share?
Yeah, Jill, I do. So, and since we're throwing around thanks, I'll just jump in on the thank train. So thank you. I know your job as the from the Aeronautical Information Group is data. Mm-hmm. And the work that Jeff and Jerry are doing, managing these big data programs, is such an important synergy that you share with them. So I appreciate that. I also really can't tell the people that have taken the time out of their schedule to tune in how wonderful it is that you're here. We're doing all this work for you, and your willingness to be a part of the community and give us feedback and insights as to how we stay relevant, providing you this important safety data is the reason that we're here. We're now officially halfway through this summit series, and I can't tell you how much I'd love for you to keep tuning in to find out more. And for your friends that may have wanted to be here today but couldn't get here live, these are available on YouTube to view later and share widely. Thanks, Jill.
Great. Thank you, Abby. And again, like I said, I want to thank all of you for participating, you on the panel, and those of the rest of you that are in our audience. And I also like to give a little shout out to our control room, who is also helping us out in this little technological age that we're in. Things can go amiss, and hopefully things have been pretty smooth this time. So again, I hope you've all gained some new insights and have had ample opportunity to share your comments with us. And if you have any general feedback or additional questions that you would like to ask, you can always reach us via email at ais-notams@faa.gov, which we will share in the chat. And don't forget to join us next Thursday for our conversation about temporary flight restrictions. With that, that's a wrap up of session 3. So I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and please stay safe. Bye.
Adios.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.